Hi there, welcome to the DKV Mobility Talk. This time in Berlin with Nicolas Iwan from H2 Mobility.
Hi Mirko, welcome.
Hi Nicolas, thanks for having me here in your Berlin office. And so we're talking today about H2 Mobility, so that means hydrogen. First of all, introduce a little bit and this is what I learned, it's not a key initiative, it's not an association, it's a company bringing hydrogen on the streets, right?
Correct. We are H2 Mobility. We are a key enabler for the energy transition in transport. Today we are about 50 people. I call them passionate experts because we know what we do. We are world market leader, we can proudly say, in operating hydrogen refueling stations. We operate around 100 stations and we have built more than 60 ourselves.
Yeah, of course, this is interesting to see because so everyone remembers Elon Musk's quote. So he said, fuel cells are fool's cells. So in terms of course, hydrogen is the great hope we have and it's the everlasting dream that we have since decades, but it will never come.
I think Elon Musk is wrong. I think we have never been that close to a breakthrough in hydrogen in transport.
Why is it now such a decisive phase?
The only problem is scale. When you look at batteries, the scale has happened through other applications, not in transport. The scale with battery has happened for applications like cameras, like smartphones, like computers in the years 2000 to 2010. And this part was missing for hydrogen. And now, that's why I said we are there. We are very close. We are closer than ever. Companies have started to scale up. And that brings costs down. And that brings us close to the point of no return, which is when TCO competitiveness is there and customers can really choose from a wide range of available products.
Nicolas, so what we see, of course, now is a very difficult situation when it comes up to energy. So we are in the biggest energy crisis since decades, maybe since ever for modern civilization. Isn't it a showstopper for hydrogen? Because so what you need for hydrogen is to produce it, coal, you need oil, you need a lot of fossil energies. So they are now cost intensive. And of course, with regard to climate protection, they are very CO2 intensive. So isn't this a showstopper for the hydrogen development? So especially this situation now as well?
I think it's going to be the opposite. It's going to prove to be a boost for green hydrogen. Of course, not for conventionally produced gray hydrogen. I think the crisis has shown and made politicians and many people aware of two things. First, we heavily depend on imports. And we depend on imports from countries we don't want to depend on. And they realized with hydrogen we can diversify this and we can put it on many more legs.
So with the green hydrogen made out of renewables. Right?
Absolutely. And second, people have realized, oh, yes, 80–90% of our energy comes from molecules. Molecules are used to bring this energy in the country and to the companies and consumers. So 80% are molecules, not electrons. This cannot be replaced by electricity from the grid overnight and also not in the long-term future. Therefore, we need molecules. And there is basically only one real green, economically scalable molecule, and that's hydrogen.
So interesting to hear. Of course, what we see is EV is the major thing that is already on the streets when it comes up to fleets, passenger cars. So hydrogen. Are we talking here about passenger cars or are we talking about trucks?
We are talking about trucks predominantly, but we are keeping the door open for passenger cars and lighter commercial vehicles. I think wherever you talk about intense use cases, big loads, where time is precious and time is money, hydrogen can be very interesting. For us, the key focus is on bigger stations with a higher load, with more sales, and that means trucks. We think that buses and trucks will represent around 70–90% of the demand in 4 or 5 years from now. But we are keeping the door open to passenger cars and light commercial vehicles because we think in intense use cases there can be a significant share for hydrogen and it's too early to close the door.
Can hydrogen really win the race against e-mobility or the electrification of the industry and of the society? So can it still win the race?
I think it's not about a race against anybody. I think the real race is for a zero carbon transport system where we do not dump CO2 anymore in the atmosphere. And I do think that it's clear that the vehicles will be zero emission, they will run on electricity. And behind, we only have two solutions. One is with batteries and one is based on hydrogen and fuel cells. Two solutions are not a lot to solve this huge challenge. And I think it will depend on countries' energy infrastructure, on customer preferences, on many other things, which mix eventually will prevail. But it will not be one or the other in neither trucks or cars. I think both can coexist in various mixes worldwide.
We are proud as DKW Mobility to be one of your partners in terms of connecting the fueling network, integrating also hydrogen into our network. And Nicolas, it will be interesting to see what the next year, the next maybe 1, 2, 3 years will bring. And it's an exciting thing, and it was great talking to you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mirko. It was a pleasure.